we have started creating some interactions, some things to move around. Let's take a look at the PlayMaker interface again. I want to introduce a few more things there. So go to your PlayMaker editor tab, click on it, and then just press space. Right. So remember last week we mentioned if you press space, it will maximize the tab to full screen. Right. So if you see my mouse cursor is above inspectors and I press space, it will just maximize that view for me. And this is particularly useful for PlayMaker because sometimes you have a lot of states in there. So press space, we've just maximized the view. So first of all, you can hold down your middle mouse button and then move around. It's kind of similar to the grab tool in the scene view, right? And also, if you have this thing in your PlayMaker, so let me just go back to this view. I think by default you'll have this mini map in PlayMaker. It sort of helps you move, sort of navigate inside your state machine. You can turn that on and off by clicking this button, right? So this is not a complicated state machine. I'm going to turn that off. And also you have a few different options here. So notice how we have two objects with state machines. So inside PlayMaker, you can click on this field here and switch to the other one. So it lists out all the objects with state machines. And also it lists out the next menu, lists out all the state machines on this particular object. And now we only have one state machine per object right now. So it's just going to have one for each of our object. But as we start having more state machines for each object, then you're going to have more here. So basically it just helps you select, find the object you want to edit and find the state machines that you want to edit. You can also click on the recent button. It shows the recent objects that you've edited. Or you can go back and forth. Right? So click on the back button, it goes back to the previous state machine that you were editing. Back and forth. You can also lock this. So when I select a different object, see how it's locked. This view is locked to the state machine on the floor, right? The FSM state machine on floor. Even though what I'm selecting here is the cube, and the inspector is looking at the cube. But because I've locked the view when I had the floor selected, this does not change. If I unlock it and I start selecting different objects, it's going to change depending on which object is being selected. And then down here, if there is an error, let's say if we have, let me delete this transition. Now there is an error, right? This exclamation mark. But this notification basically shows you that, okay, now there's a slight problem here. And you can click on it, or double click on it. You have this pop-up window, error check. It will say event not used by the state or any global transitions. What that means is, scroll down. The nice thing about this is on the editor here, you can see that there's a problem on the state, and it will show you which action is having the problem. Right? So we don't have any problem with the translate state, but we have a problem with the wait action. And this little button shows up, or not a button, this little icon shows up next to the one that's causing the error. And the problem is we set a finish event. We use the finished event, but it's not defined here. We don't have it here. So again, how do we fix this problem? We can simply go right click, add transition, and we add this finished event back, right? Notice how now this error icon is gone, but we still have a problem with the state. Now let's check this again, where it says transition missing target state. Right, so this particular transition, it's not going anywhere, right? So we define an event, but what do we do with this event? It needs to go to another state. So every event, every transitioning event needs to go to a state. Okay, and as soon as we connect those two, the errors were gone. It says no errors, everyone's happy, and it's great. Debug, there are various different ways you can debug this state machine. Debug simply means sometimes when you create interactions, you will run into problems, you have errors, and you need to fix those errors. And that's a process we call debugging. And this menu sort of helps you. You can do different things with it. We're not going to go into that right now, but if you are familiar with the process, that's where you would do it. And preferences, different. You can change the way this part looks, change the way it behaves. I usually leave most things as default, except for zooming. I don't usually use that, so I kind of turn that off. And minimap, depending on the state machine, I don't usually use it. But it's a cool feature, and I think once we start doing more and more with it, we might want to turn that on once in a while to check where everything is. So a lot of different options here for you to tweak, but for the most part, don't worry about it. So that's some additional information on the PlayMaker interface and FSN. So this is similar. This is basically the same as this component here, and I usually edit it here anyway. So focus on your state and your events and your variables.